Hey guys, my name's Jackie. I'm a registered dietitian from Long Island, and I'm going to talk to you about the supplement creatine today. So, there's a lot of claims out there for supplements, and the problem is that they're not actually proven to be beneficial. Instead, we have these supplement companies promoting to get you guys to spend money with the promise of you getting bigger, leaner, or stronger quickly. Anything that you want under the sun, they have a magic pill that they're going to sell you. And the truth is that some of these supplements do work, some don't, and some are just kind of downright dangerous to consume. If you're an athlete, especially, you really need to be careful with what you're taking in, just to make sure that you're not accidentally consuming something that's on the ban list for your sport organization, if nothing else. It happens a lot more often than you would think, and unfortunately, the supplement companies in the United States are very poorly regulated, so unless you're getting something from a very reputable source, you don't quite know what's going to be in that powder you're taking. This week, however, I'm going to extensively review creatine for you guys so you guys have an idea of who it works with, who would benefit, and everything in between. So, some of the claims to creatine is that it's going to increase your lean body mass, it's going to help with your muscle and power strength, and it's going to help with those maximal effort muscle contractions. So, in order to really know how creatine helps us, we kind of need to know a little more about the energy systems in our body. So, creatine is a compound derived from the amino acids arginine, glycine, and methionine. It's one of the three major energy systems in the body that forms ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. And ATP is one of the energy sources that are fuel for our muscles and brain. To give you guys an example of how it's found naturally, fish and meat have approximately 5 grams of creatine per kilogram, but since we don't really work in the metric system, what that really means is it's 5 grams for a little over 2 pounds of fish or meat consumed. And we also happen to excrete that much in our body as well. Our body is great at maintaining homeostasis and balancing itself out in regard. So the way that creatine works is when we train at a high intensity, our body is under what's referred to as anaerobic conditions, and creatine is a major fuel source at this time. Creatine in muscle does its job by donating a phosphate molecule to what's called ADP, or adenosine diphosphate. So adenosine diphosphate has 2 ATP. And what we really want is to regenerate and get to the 3 ATP, because that's going to help fuel our muscle contractions again. The way supplemental creatine can help is by supplementing, we can improve our creatine stores by up to 20%, and that is really significant for you guys. With supplemental creatine, we're increasing the amount stored in muscle, and what that's going to do is it's going to improve the body's ability to regenerate ATP from ADP, and what that means is it has the potential to make us perform better. Supplemental creatine has been shown in numerous studies to be beneficial for high-intensity exercises that have short bursts of power. It allows greater availability of phosphocreatine in activated muscles due to a higher rate of resynthesis during recovery periods. So what does that really mean for the general public? It means that it might improve performance in power and strength training. The other great thing about creatine is that it can decrease your dependence on anaerobic glycolysis for the resynthesis of ATP. Again, what does that mean? One of the end products of anaerobic glycolysis is lactic acid. And lactic acid is what creates that lactic acid burn that a lot of you guys get when you're lifting. You usually feel it about halfway through your set, and that's really what makes you struggle to get those reps in. So by using creatine, instead of relying on anaerobic glycolysis, we can delay the accumulation of lactic acid and prevent that lactic acid burn, which again is going to help you guys perform better, and it's just so great. So who should take creatine? The first thing I have to say is if you have any kind of medical condition, I would really just recommend talking to your doctor before you consume any supplement, not just creatine. But for those of us that are healthy, there's a lot of benefits, and major benefits are for power lifters. You guys rely on those short bursts of energy when you're doing your lifts, and this is something that could really help you for those first few seconds when you guys go. Anyone engaging in weight training or resistance training, again, this is going to help you. It's going to help you improve your lean body mass. It's going to help you improve your performance. Any kind of athlete whose goal is to increase lean body mass, well, you guys are doing your off-season training, your weightlifting, I really recommend trying this out because it has been proven to be really beneficial. The other population that this could help, but it's not as spoken about, is vegetarians. Since creatine is found in the diet mainly in meat and fish, vegetarians could potentially have low levels in the body. And again, This is likely not necessary unless you're engaging in strength training of some kind, but it could be beneficial. So, who doesn't benefit from creatine? Anyone that's not engaged in a resistance or a weight training program, as great as this would be if you could just take it and gain lean body mass, it doesn't work like that. You still have to put in the work of your weight training. And endurance athletes. You guys really rely on a different energy source than creatine for the most part. It could be beneficial for the first 4 to 8 seconds of your run, but for the most part, this isn't really going to help you guys too much. But there are still a lot of good benefits. Unfortunately, there is an adverse side effect that does happen. It doesn't happen to the majority of people, but for some individuals, creatine has been shown to cause muscle stiffness, decreased range of motion, and muscle cramping. So this happens because creatine can draw additional water retention around your muscle. It kind of creates that fluffy feeling, if you guys have ever gotten that. But again, this doesn't happen to most people. I really just recommend trying it out, see how it works for you. For any kind of athlete, if you guys have competitions or games coming up, I wouldn't really recommend that as the time to try creatine. What you really want to do is try it on your off season. Try it when you guys have a few weeks before you're doing anything serious, just to see how it works for you. The other main question that I do get a lot is, how do we get rid of excess creatine? So the short answer is our kidney does an amazing job of processing and excreting creatine from the body. If you guys have a healthy kidney function, there's likely not going to be any issue with that. It's probably not something you need to worry about. So now that we've talked about all of the benefits, the side effects of creatine, the most important thing to know is how much you should really be taking. So that's really a twofold question, I would say. There's a lot of research that shows that a loading phase of creatine can be beneficial. And what the loading phase is consuming 20 grams of creatine a day for the first 5 days of your creatine cycle. So we're just going to show you guys this again, just as an example. This is creatine monohydrate. Most creatine is 5 grams per scoop. So if you're doing the loading phase, what that means for you is you're going to have to take this 4 different times a day to meet the requirements of those 20 grams. For some people, that's no problem. If you guys can do that, I really do recommend it. It's the loading phase. Numerous studies have shown for that to be very beneficial and kind of improve. But if that doesn't work for your schedule, because some people just can't stop 4 times in the middle of their day to do that. They don't have this readily available. They don't have time to sit there. That's fine too. You have to do exactly what works for you. So there have been studies that show that even without the loading phase, there's still beneficial effects of taking creatine. And the daily recommendation after the loading phase is to consume 5 grams a day for 5 to 6 weeks. So again, if you can take the loading phase, that's great. If you can't, just do the daily dose for 5 to 6 weeks by itself, and it's still going to help you. As always, there's no one-fits-all approach. See what works best for you. And for most individuals, if you're taking creatine, you follow the dosing recommendations, you're engaging in strength and resistance training, you'll likely see an increase in your lean body mass in about 8 weeks. That typically is the average where people start to see improvements. And aside from that, the only other thing that we really have to go over is what form of creatine you guys should be taking. So there's a few different things on the market, and one of the most popular and the one that I personally would recommend is creatine monohydrate. It absorbs well, it's fairly cheap to purchase, and it's just been researched exponentially. It's really the best way to go. There is slightly more research needed on long-term creatine supplementation in shorter amounts. And what that means is some studies do show that there's proven benefits for consuming a lesser amount, such as 3 grams instead of 5 grams a day, and doing it for a longer period of time. But we really just do need a little more research on that. And the other thing is supplementation in females. The majority of studies for sports and sports nutrition, unfortunately, are male dominated. And what that means is that the results might not be as generalizable to females. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't recommend taking it. It just means that your results might be slightly different. So I do really hope this overview helps. My goal is really just to debunk any kind of myths or bro science floating around on bodybuilding forums and really understand having a proper knowledge of nutrition and supplementation. As always, if you're looking for specific help of how to implement a nutrition plan and make it long-lasting and work for your lifestyle, I really recommend working with a registered dietitian. And if you guys are specifically focused on sports nutrition, I highly recommend you find a specialist just for that. I hope this video helped a lot. If you guys do have any questions, comment below, let me know. If it's something that I know, I will definitely help you guys. And if you guys do have any other questions or recommendations for other supplements that you guys want to know more about, let me know. I'm going to be making more videos, so I would love to work on that too. All right, I hope you guys have a good day. Good night.